Welcome to Cardone Debates. It's January 20th, 5 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be talking about why real estate is an excellent investment and you shouldn't be buying anything else. So we're all going all in on real estate. Hey, Gary, welcome to your show.
And then you bring me on. So, hey, all you husbands and boyfriends out there that have a woman whose core thesis is that success is a white picket fence called a house, which is really an anchor of debt and an anchor to a geography, an anchor to a zip code in an ever-changing zip code world. Please bring them here. And I am going to, if my brother shows up, we are going to destroy the concept that real estate as a home is an investment. One, it's not an investment. It's not a financial investment. And so bring the peeps that believe that that's the way you generate great wealth and success. And I would love to hear the positive debate for owning a home and having the responsibility that comes with a home versus the options. And I do want to get into the options because people just go, well, you shouldn't own a home, but they don't talk about what you can do instead. So, Robert Flutie, I think Robert wants to come in and present for the house owner. And I saw some comments, Dana, when we said we were going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of comments like, hey, live a life, you only have one life to live. And please come up with these concepts, okay? Like even that, so I would love to hear that. Oh, you only have one life to live and you got to raise a family and people need security. Love to hear those arguments. So good to have everybody. Dana, did you watch Sunday, 10:30 a.m., Coffee with Cardone or Sunday Mornings with Gary or whatever I call this show? I need a name and stick to it. Were you there? I did not see you.
The last two I watched on replay.
I'm going to have to do roll call from now on.
You're welcome to. I'm about to change my zip code right now, actually. I'm on my way to Florida to my orthodontist. Yeah. So I had a couple things like that kind of interfered with your live Sunday morning. Yeah. But everyone should tune in to Sundays. I've really, really enjoyed them actually. And you've been getting into painting a lot.
I think
a lot more.
I think the last two have been spectacular. If I can say so, I really think they were, because it's really not me now doing this, but I thought they were really, really good. I would have paid large amounts of money for some of the information there. So anyway, you didn't spin me up to talk about that. I was just trying to burn some time for the audience to get in here.
I mean, it's all related. You said that you had found the code, the life code.
The what?
You found a secret, the life code.
I think it's an absolute total hack. It's a super hack. And it's just so simple. I am convinced I have discovered the most simple hack on the planet. And you never need a counselor or anyone sitting across from you 1 hour a week trying to do something that, which is ludicrous, right? To think that you're going to actually discover who you are 1 hour a week talking to a stranger when you don't spend any time talking to yourself. So let's roll, man. This is going to be fun. I don't think anybody's going to be able to show up and present, though, for the real estate side. I see a lot of pro Bitcoiners, and I see a lot of pro gold guys who didn't really have enough gold, but now they claim to have gold and silver. Everybody's got silver now. Do you notice that?
Yeah, I know. Everyone has a lot of silver stacked up.
Yeah, they're laughing.
They've just been waiting for it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, why don't we introduce all the peeps that are in the room?
Okay. Well, we have a couple new ones. Couple been here before,
virgins.
But Robert.
Virgins.
Yeah. Can you guys see his face? Because I can see you,
see
Robert.
Robert on screen. I can see him in the room.
I know. Okay, we're having a little bit of issues with Robert, if you can rejoin again, I'll let you in.
Yeah, Robert, I'd get out and then come back in maybe.
Yes. And while he's doing that, Evan, you've not been on before, but we know you.
Pleasure to be on. Thanks for having me. Always great to discuss this type of stuff.
So Evan, Evan's been in Bitcoin for a long time, but you have some real estate, so you have a good perspective. We're all going to be telling Gary that he's made a mistake selling his home. He should have kept it. But you technically, you know, I don't know if that's how you really feel. We know that it's not. So anyway, where can people find you online, and you know, anything else? Tell us where we can find your YouTube channel and that sort of thing.
Yeah, thanks. I'll keep it quick. YouTube is just my name. It's Evan Aldo. Twitter is @real Evan Aldo. Those are the main two I use. So yeah, I mean, I'm a big cycles guy. That's when I think the first thing I'll say is the two ingredients for buying real estate, at least in the US, is you want low prices and low interest rates. You have that a teeny bit. You're trying almost, this year could be one of those years that I think real estate will outperform the S&P 500, at least in the US. The last decade that real estate outperformed the S&P 500 was from 2000 to 2010, even with the '08 crash. So there's certain areas, I would say. In addition, real estate is something that, it's not like buying the Bitcoin or the S&P 500 where the price is what the price is on the exchange. Real estate is very negotiable. You could find good deals. And I've even seen I've seen some one bedrooms, near where my high rise that I own. I used to live there. I rent it out now and live abroad. But, some one bedrooms for in downtown Miami, they're asking $375. I don't see that going much lower, especially if you can get a good deal $350. So you have to, it's very strategic, I see. And before we started, Gary, I know we mentioned, what's interesting is we mentioned Pluribus. That Asuncion, Paraguay, I've been looking at some opportunities outside the US. That Asuncion, Paraguay could be a good opportunity. That may be, because you look at places like Medellin that have gone up quite a bit of value because a lot of expats have come there. Asuncion's getting popular, very safe city, a lot cheaper than places like Medellin. What normally happens, people want cheaper places. That could be one of those foreign investments. I don't know if you talk about that too much, Gary, but that's something I've been studying. I don't own any foreign investments.
I hate foreign investments.
How do you elaborate?
Hate them with a passion. Hate them with a passion because I can't control. Look, I almost left this country 2 years ago if the Dems were going to get into office. So I most certainly wouldn't do business in the UK, or any place in Europe. The regulations are horrible. They can change the rules anytime they want and do often. If you do business in Brazil, getting your money out of Brazil is really problematic. I don't know about Colombia, but once it's in there from dollars, getting money out, I just passed on an investment in Brazil because I'm like, hey, look, I don't know if I'm going to be able to repatriate it, bring it back on shore when I want it. So, and by the way, I think there's so many massive opportunities that don't require me to stick myself in a jurisdictional geography that has risk. I don't have to do that with my assets or my time or my investment. And so I don't know why I would. I think to me, the only people that should invest in Colombia would be Colombians. Because they're going to kind of know the thing. They're going to know all the peeps. And anyway, it's just and I've lived and owned property in other countries. For instance, I owned a mill house in England, and 3 months of me, you can actually find this somewhere, I'm sure online if you searched it. The Times of London did an article on 400 or 500 people riding on the private street. Grant's in the room. He fished this property with me and my mom many years ago, but people riding, farmers riding because they didn't like what I was doing to the house. Literally didn't like that I was bringing chalk. I lived on a chalk stream. I bought a bunch of chalk from Jody Schechter, the race car driver who was my neighbor, and imported tons and tons of this chalk, and they went ballistic, dude. and literally the chalk came from my next door neighbor.
That sounds like Yellowstone, the TV show.
That's the kind of stuff that happens, you know, in other jurisdictions. Well, in fact, any jurisdiction that can happen with real estate.
Yeah.
So good to have you, man.
A lot of good points there. Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think it is riskier. I think you got to really, like you mentioned, Colombians, but you got to know the market. You definitely got to know the market. Brazil, I don't think is a good one. The UK, obviously not. I think if you really study it, it can be done, but you got to know what you're doing. And I think for most people, especially, I think it's something for somebody who wants to live outside of the US or wants to at least, you know, spend half the year outside the US. The only thing that was mainly attractive to me is the yields are higher in a lot of these places, like 10 to 15%. I've talked.
They should be though.
Yeah,
they should be, dude. Right? They should be higher.
Yeah.
They should be.
It weighs out the risk. Yeah.
I mean, well, I'm not sure it does weigh out the risk, because I wouldn't loan money to a Colombian drug lord for 15%.
I'm sure. Fair point.
So I look at that and go, and by the way, I'm going to beat 15% being in the US. In fact, I can buy STRC and make 11% and only pay 17% taxes. So you start to look at that and go, dude, why would I go to Colombia and get a job building a house or a tree house when I can get paid 11%?
Yeah.
And you're getting 15. You need 30, 40% for that trade to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think too, like we're talking about real estate as like an investment, purely as an investment property. I think.
Well, no, what we're talking about here, we're talking about home ownership. Okay. That's what we're really talking about. We could go into land and we could go into development. I mean, all of them are going to be pretty much the same, but really home ownership, this thesis that a white picket fence, you know, in the 50s, I think the banks really redefined the entire concept or definition of success. It went from success is, you know, you're building things to a white picket fence, man, a puppy and 4 kids, and a neighborhood that, you know, you never left. And I don't think that's the idea most people have when they think of success. My sister, who I love and adore, lovely woman, she still lives in the same town she grew up in, and maybe that is awesome success for her. But you know, how many adventures can you have living in? Because I think success is measured by how many great adventures you have in your life. Right?
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
And Gary, this is a perfect place to jump off about the home ownership. I was at Diane's house today. She's 77 years old. House is paid for. It's worth $225. She has no payments on it except for property and maintenance. And you know, you don't know what maintenance is going to be. You don't know what property tax is gonna be either. But in Louisiana, they'll be low forever because nothing happens here. But my point is, she's 77 years old. She's going to MD Anderson today to get a biopsy on a suspecting
Grant's cutting out on us. Grant, you're not there. All right, let's try. Henry's not there.
you can
Grant's
hear me?
back. We can hear you now.
Sorry, dude. If the connection's bad, just tell me. Anyway, my point is, she's got a house she's having to maintain and take care of that slowly over time, as her attention becomes more about her health and less about her home, the home will start to degrade. She'll have things to worry about she doesn't need to worry about and won't have the time and energy for. And if that's an investment, that's just a different. It's different than the American dream concept.
Yeah, thanks for being here, buddy. Appreciate you. We're going to bring up Leon now.
We're praying for
Leon, then
her.
we'll go to Robert and then Henry.
Leon, we've had you on before. Can you introduce yourself and why we should be listening to you about Bitcoin and houses?
Of course. Thanks for having me on, first of all, guys. Yeah, I'm a real estate developer. And about 10 years ago, 2015, I wrote my master thesis about Bitcoin while studying financial economics. I was the first economics students to write a master thesis about Bitcoin. And then I went into the family business, which is construction and real estate development. And I'm an author of a Bitcoin magazine as well, which some of you might know. And we've been integrating Bitcoin into our real estate business for the past 4 years now. So I've been really enjoying how you guys, Gary and Grant, how you guys came onto the scene and how you've been embracing Bitcoin and going deeper down the rabbit hole. It's great to see. And personally, I think real estate development makes a lot of sense, especially if you get capital and you put in your expertise. And without equity, it makes even more sense. But home ownership doesn't really make sense, in my opinion. From an investment standpoint, I personally rent. Even though I'm a real estate developer, I don't own properties that I live in. I have, of course, I have equities, or I have parts and properties that we developed. But generally speaking, I think it's pretty obvious that since Bitcoin exists, there's no reason to invest in a home. You can just simply save in Bitcoin and you can outperform any home ownership pretty much. You have to put in less money and you have a higher chance of generating a higher upside. And since you can't generate cash flow with a home, I don't think it's interesting at all as an investment. It changes, of course, the dynamic changes when we talk about real estate development, because then you can generate cash flow and you can work with capital of investors. But home ownership, from my perspective as a Bitcoiner, is a bad investment.
Thanks for being here, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Make sure you guys follow Leon on X as well.
Dana, who's next?
Well, Robert is going to be taking the side
There
of
he
real
is.
estate for
Where's
real,
that?
for real.
Robert, how you doing, buddy? Gonna have to come off
You're
mute.
you're muted. You're muted, Robert. Okay, try again. I don't
I
know.
don't think that's working very well.
Whose background is that?
Might be Grant's phone, huh? No, he's muted.
No, Grant's muted. Okay, Robert, you sound like you're in the shower. So when you rejoin the link again, can you just not add any external mic? Yeah, try again. Try to join again and then don't add a mic. And then I'll let you back on stage. We
Felt like
also have,
felt like I owned a home right there.
that's what happens when you have a plumbing problem. You
You
have to call somebody.
You know, these guests come on and they watch us do these things, and I think everyone thinks they're easy, and then they're like, oh, wow, don't know how to do the mic, don't know how to do the audio, don't know how to do the recording. It's hilarious. It's a lot of moving pieces. Who else we have? Robert's going to be backstage. Henry's in here.
Hello, Henry.
Hey, guys. How are you? Dana, Grant, Gary, Evan, Leon. Nice to meet you, Leon and Evan. And it's good seeing you guys again.
Good to see you, buddy.
So, yeah, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a professional trader. I have an MBA. I really had I loved owning my home. I will say, the first thing I wanted to do, because I was homeless as a kid, is because I lived in a shed as a child, in my teens. And so the first thing I did was, when I got in, I made some money, got into college, and I worked for a retired lawyer in Boulder, Colorado. And I wanted a piece of land. So I bought a piece of land and I built a little cabin on it with my hands. Like I cut a way in. And that was the worst. And that attorney told me, he says, this is going to be the worst mistake of your life. But I was like 25, something like that. And I thought, I have to do this. And it was the worst mistake. That property I owned for 20 years. I built it by hand. That I had the county of Boulder about put me in bankruptcy, fighting me to take it down. And then eventually, when they got me out, they let squatters take it over. I paid $30,000 to get the squatters to sign their rights away so I could sell the property. I kid you not. So anyway, but I really did want to own the property. But on X, you'll see me. I'm a professional trader. I was a miner before that. And there was a reason to use the mining to own property for the mining because you get the depreciation. And so there is some reasons, there are some points that it makes sense to actually own real estate. But if you're just doing it for a single family residence, it's hard to justify unless you can get the property at a, you need the interest rate to be below inflation so that you get the property for free over like a 30-year period. So. Oh, and you can find me on X if anybody follows. Look, my account's been closed so many times. I don't sell anything. I have books. I just give them away.
Hey, I'd love to know, thank you for being here. I'd love to know from the panel, do you guys think that the single family home should even be on a financial statement as an asset? Because it goes about 50-50 with financial planners that I've asked this of. And it used to be when I went to when I did accounting back in whenever I went to college, it was not on the personal financial statement ever. And the logic was that you had to live someplace, so you would never carry the equity to your personal net worth, nor would you, but you would carry the debt. I'm like, well, that can't be good. So I'd love to know from you guys, should it be on a financial statement, the equity or net negative be carried over?
I would say no, but that doesn't mean you never should buy a primary. I mean, my main thing is that if you're going to stay somewhere 5 or 6 years and you do the math on it, it makes more sense in the long term, assuming you don't have anything crazy happen, crazy unpresented repairs or maintenance or bad things happening. It would be more worth it to buy if you're planning on keeping it 5 or 6 years. I mean, I've talked to some people that sold like in early 2021 single family residences in like California, for example. They've spent like 300 grand on rent since then. And I'm just like, I mean, if you were to buy $1 million place at that point, I think the math would be more in your favor, assuming you didn't have to spend, hundreds of thousands on maintenance costs. I think if you're planning on staying at a place 5 or 6 years, but I 100% agree on that point. You shouldn't keep it it shouldn't really be part of that financial statement, but that doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't buy, in my opinion.
It could just be simply part of somebody's portfolio. Like this might be all they own. So what else are they going to put on there? That's my only suggestion.
Robert, do you have thoughts on that? Can you try unmuting?
If that's all you own, why would you put it on there? It's either an asset or it's not an asset.
Well, no, my point is that somebody.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I would say it's definitely an asset. You're going to list it on there. It's a liability and an asset.
But if you're going to go, if you're going to go to another asset, if you're going to sell it and move it over because you have to live there, it's basically suggesting that this is a consumption item, not you wouldn't list your food.
Right. Yeah, I see that, because you're always going to have a shelter cost, right? Whether you rent or own, you're going to have a cost to put a roof over your head. So, but when you're renting, you're not walking away with anything. You have no equity there. I mean, you can own and have a payment and have, hundreds of thousands of dollars, $1 million of equity sitting there. I mean, it's an inflation buster. I mean, over time, definitely home ownership wins out because rent is always going to increase with inflation. Year after year, you're going to sign a new lease. You're going to get bumped in your rent. After 5 years, this gap gets bigger and bigger. After 10 or 20 years, your house payment is so much smaller than what the market rate is for rent. I mean, it's enormous. If you want to invest in other things, it gives you more free capital to do that.
But in 25 of the largest cities in America, the rent is 50% of what a mortgage is today.
Yeah. So right now, see, that's not to say that short term maybe renting isn't the best bet. Right now, it's very lopsided, very unusual because rates are so high right now. Home prices are so high that right now you got this real lopsidedness where it's really hard to justify that initial.
Robert, but where are these prices and this cost of capital so high? I see. I've seen mortgages before at 12%. And today they're at what, 4.5%?
6,
Um,
7.
I-
in there?
6, 30-year mortgage.
They're 6 and 3/8, Gary.
They call it 40. Let's call it base rate plus 3. Okay, so 6.5, 7.5. But no one has to buy a house, and no one has to take a mortgage on, right? And so I don't. When you say houses are really expensive, within 5 minutes of here, there's several hundred homes that are 2,500 plus square feet for 350 grand. And no HOA fees. Okay. You're going to put 20% down probably. The grants, hey, should they be on the balance sheet? If it's not liquid, like what price do you mark it at? Do you mark it at some fictitious market price? I just got a tax bill for $14 million valuation on a house I paid 8.6 for. Why the hell would I pay taxes on a $14 million baseline when I could not possibly sell that today for $14 million? Okay. Now it's going to show me with equity of $6 million, which is ridiculous. This is how people get into trouble, I think. But
And Gary, if I could just say, rising home insurance.
Yeah, like my insurance bill went from 130 to 230 because I'm in Pinellas County. By the way, in Portland, a man just went to jail for collecting in 4 rain collectors the rain that fell on his property so he could water his fruit. And he went to jail for it because Portland is saying that the water that falls on your property is not yours.
That's true almost every, I think it's true across the entire country. I don't think people realize it.
Really?
Yeah.
Colorado.
I've heard of this before.
Colorado. If it's true everywhere, that's insane. Why would you ever buy anything? I mean, really, I have rented, just to give you Robert, I love you being here because we need some people on the other side of this. I have lived in at least 25 to 30 homes. I have a 18-year-old who has probably lived in 20 homes. And we probably owned 5 of them. The other ones we rented. They never knew that we rented or owned them. The people that come to our front door to have Sunday breakfast with us, they don't ask me, hey, do you rent or do you own? When I go to a hotel, I don't own the hotel. I don't. I'm okay with renting a hotel room. Not having the maintenance duty. I'm not a plumber. The white picket fence, I think, is a romantic story. And then I end up shoveling shit on the driveways and cleaning pipes and toilets, which, by the way, I have no expertise in whatsoever. Then I end up in the hospital because I fall off of a ladder, and that impacts my 5 days of production. My boss now thinks I'm jinxed. I get a job offer for $1 million to go to Dubai and build a new business, but I've got a $1.5 million home that I can't possibly leave because my 8-year-old cannot possibly leave her little zip code and her friends that, by the way, she is never, ever going to see once she's 18 years old. So to me, these are really illogical things in a world that somebody said 5 or 6 years. The average stay in a home is less than 7 years. I think that's the average. For me, most certainly, it's been less than 7 years. And if
Gary, I think it's right at 8. I'm sorry, Gary, but I think it's right at 8 years. 7.5 years of that would be interest, only interest, no principal pay down. So if you take for simple math, a 6% loan on 400 grand, you paid in 6 years, you paid $24,000 times 6. You paid $130,000 in interest only interest on a house that's only worth 400 grand, and that doesn't count property taxes, maintenance, and it doesn't count insurance.
You're paying rent,
which are continue to inflate.
Each year you sign a new lease, right? But that home is also whether you pay interest only or not, say if that home's appreciating at 3% a year on average over that 8-year period, that's a compounding factor. You're walking away with equity at the end of that 8 years, whether you pay interest only or not. If you carry the same balance the whole time, at the end of that 8 years,
it depends on what 6 or 8 years though. If you'd have bought in 2008, yeah, you know, you'd be crushed. 5 million people lost their homes in this country. If you bought in 2012 and you stole the house, that's a different thing, and the rates were different. But nobody's stealing homes today. Look, you can't build a home for under $350,000 in any market in the country.
It's exactly
the idea that you're ever going to have. Say again.
Yeah, but you can't.
That's why I use that number, because
I think you're frozen if you're trying to talk, Robert.
yeah, he's way frozen.
Yeah, what I was saying was, look, it's going to cost, you know, 350 to 400 grand to build a house in any of these markets, like the Houstons, the Austin, Texas is going to cost 600 grand to build a 2,000 square foot house. So there's no going back to, okay, we have to build affordable housing. The permit structure is 15%. Okay, to permit a house today, 15% of the cost goes to simply regulation. So this isn't back in 1950, 1960, when you could go build a house in fucking 60 days. You didn't have any regulation cost. You could get labor to actually go do the job because you weren't competing with technology and bigger jobs. Dude, the housing is going to get so inflationary because of materials, because of labor and regulations, and then the cost of the money. When I'm saying that you can rent, Robert was talking about, yeah, you're building equity. Guess what? You would have built $1,500 a month. The difference between the payment, the mortgage payment, and the rent is approximately $1,500 a month nationally. Times 12, that's $18,000 a year. Times 6 is 100 grand plus the down payment that you could have had invested in Bitcoin or gold or silver or your own business or adventures like Gary talked about. Like a million other things could have been a better investment than a house, which is only returned about 1.5% when adjusted for inflation over the last 100 years.
I think there were a lot of good.
Rents are going up each year. I mean, you know, if rents are consuming 30% of your gross income and you're renting, it's always going to consume 30% of your gross income for most people, for the majority of the masses. When you're purchasing, you may go in and you may be at 35% of your gross income, but over time, because of inflation, you know, and it's a leverage asset. I mean, you want appreciable assets leveraged, and that's the inflation buster. You win in inflation. Your property appreciates more, and the cost to pay it back decreases because of inflation. So, I mean, over time, you know, 5 years, 10 years, yeah, immediately, there's no immediate, obviously, renting looks better immediately for the immediate gratification, 1 to 3 years. But once you get past that 3 years, the next 27 years, you're gonna have more money every month to invest in Bitcoin. You know, you're gonna have more money to invest in each and every avenue. And the cost to you over time actually decreases because of inflation. So,
Robert, can I ask a question? The question is, sorry to jump in there, but what's the unit of account? Because once you start thinking in Bitcoin terms, the opportunity cost of having capital tied up in a house is just too much. Even if in the future it gives you more money to buy Bitcoin, Bitcoin is actually better money than the money you can buy, which is fiat money. So my question is,
you don't have rent, right? Rent's 100% a liability, right? There's no return on rent, right? You get a shelter.
Well, there is a return in the sense of
how's it a liability? Is food cost a liability?
Well, it's an outgoing expense, right?
Okay, but is the cost of food a liability?
Well, yeah, you need it. Yeah, it's an expense. Yeah.
Yeah, but you would never put it on. You would never put it on a list, a column that says that's a liability. I have no obligation. I have no obligation. There's so many ways to creatively find a place to sleep or eat. It's not a debt.
Let me pick up on this. This is an interesting point. So I suspect that I probably pay less here, and I own a house. I literally pay less here, and it's only because, and I could do this if I was renting. Since COVID, my thesis is that since I am no longer assured a school to take my kids to, although I have an obligation to take them to the school when they're open, and I was not allowed to go to my business unless it was an exempted business or a necessary business, I decided, okay, I'm going to build a compound or acquire a compound and bring that all here, safeguard my position for my security, my family. I've changed everything I'm doing with the tax man now. Like literally, I'm still against home ownership, and I'm only paying probably $12,000 a month to live here, maybe 15 grand. And anybody that's been here is like, this is an awesome home. I would pay, Robert, I would pay $60,000 to $65,000 a month on a long-term lease if you'll buy the house from me for $14 million. And my credit's excellent. So see, that's why I like having these conversations, because if people think that home ownership's a good deal, there are people with home ownership that would rather do something else with their money. I would rather do something else with my money because I don't really know I don't have any affinity for taking care of boats and wharves and landscaping. And I think that would offer a great return to some people, right? And I would never look at my $65,000 as being a waste. It's simply because I do so much activity in business here, it's simply a place for me to do things. Just like the plane Grant flies on. It's not worth anything if he doesn't have jet fuel, right? So I can't worry about some expenses because they produce energy for me. This is my main complaint about a home. It does not produce positive energy. It consumes energy. And it anchors me down in a world that I should be able to be extremely transient in today. Like, I think there's an advantage to being transient today.
Doesn't tie you down? A 12-month lease on a property, that doesn't tie you down?
Well, but this is what I can do on a 12-month lease. I can call the guy up and go, hey, man, I'd like to jump out of this thing. What's it going to cost me to get out? I can't do this on a $14 million home.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Or I can call up my brother and go, hey, I know you come to Tampa a lot, dude. I have to go to London for 8 months. You want to take over the lease? Okay. Or call a buddy and rent it. I mean, it most certainly, I'm not so, or have my employer pay for it. It's going to be a lot easier for him to pay for the rest of the lease than it is my $14 million home.
Exactly. Nobody values mobility until they lose it.
It's the weight of a home to me, especially you young guys, okay? Like, I do not understand why you 27-year-old guys are buying a house and your nurse wife tells you it's a good investment. And if you're lucky, you bought it, you stole it. That's the only way you make money on a house, is when you bought it right, you stole that motherfucker, and you're probably going to make the money in 3 or 4 years, and that's it. And everything on that return is going to go down after that 2 or 3. Like, I have made all the money I'm going to make on this home. If it's really worth $14 million, I paid 8.6 for it. Had I bought Bitcoin, I'd be $100 million up on the trade. Okay. So there are other alternatives today. Now, what is it worth for me to have this view? What is it worth for me to be able to have a secure place to interview a president or friends or whoever, right? It's worth something, but it ain't worth $100 million, man. Because I did have that opportunity, okay? Like, it's not everyone now has that opportunity. And maybe my sister didn't have the opportunity back then. She most certainly now has to make some decisions because she shouldn't be in that house. But she's probably, just due to comfort, she's probably going to stay there a long time. And the house is going to erode. And it's going to be left in a death. And the first thing that person's going to do is dump it. They're going to dump it. And you're going to have a lot of houses sold that are like my house. If I died today, my house would get sold within 12 minutes, man. No one in my family wants this big old chunky thing. No one.
Yep.
A lot of great
It's a
points.
false
Yeah.
sense of security that's tied with home ownership, I think, because tangible things give you a false sense of security, but it's really it's the opposite. Also, in this time, I don't think you want to own anything that ties you down to one place, especially in Europe. So I'm in Germany right now, and I think owning a home in Europe is one of the maybe dumbest ideas, especially in Eastern Europe, you can have right now, because it gives you a false sense of security. You might outperform the rate of monetary inflation, but once you are able to understand the dangers that come with being tied to one place in a jurisdiction where you can be regulated and taxed, and it can be literally stolen or destroyed in a war, it basically becomes a liability. And I think as Bitcoin consumes the monetary premium that sits in real estate over time, people will see houses as a consumer product. I think it's just a matter of time. If we talk, let's say, 20, 30 years out into the future, I think that people will change their opinion from houses always go up in value to houses are a liability and Bitcoin always goes up in value. So I think that's the change of mindset that we already are seeing. Otherwise, we would not have this conversation.
I think in most cases, that I just wanted to say, in most cases, I think, Gary mentioned if you can steal something, obviously that means if you can get a very good deal. The big thing is you got to do the math. You got to do your homework. Home price divided by annual rent. A lot of that is not a good ratio right now. It depends where you are. I'm sure if you looked hard enough, you can find good ratios. And I mean, obviously it was mentioned that the average person doesn't stay really long enough for it to be worth it, the 7 or 8 years where it's worth it. But if you're in a situation, this isn't most people today, it used to be most people 20, 30 years ago, but if you're in a situation where 100% you want to stay somewhere 7, 8 years at least, and you can get a good home to price to annual rent ratio, ideally, below 20, then the math generally makes sense there. That's not most people today though. So that's what I would say. You got to really do your homework, do your math. But I think there still are people that want to stay in the same place 7, 8 years. If you get that good ratio, that's good. In addition, I like to follow cycles. Phillips Anderson, 18 to 20 year real estate cycle. Now would be not the best time to buy, kind of based on that. Wait a few years for hopefully lower interest rates that you will very likely see in 4 or 5 years. If you can hold up that much. Also, you'll probably see better deals for the housing market in the early 2030s. But that doesn't mean it's impossible to find a good deal right now. If you look hard enough, there are good deals in certain places. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Hey,
listen,
Evan, go ahead, Robert.
I'm sorry. There's $35 trillion of equity in single-family residence in America. $35 trillion. So, obviously renters don't get any portion of that. The homeowner does, whoever owns that. But that's about what's in the American market right now. So there's definitely benefits to owning, and it doesn't have to be long-term. To say you're going to invest the difference assumes some assumptions there. It assumes perfect behavior. It assumes that you're investing every month. It assumes you don't ever do any panic selling, or you have lifestyle inflation. That you're consistently outperforming, and there's no guarantee of that. Most people don't have that kind of discipline. Discipline in their investment life to pull that off. Whereas when you're a homeowner, right now in this market, obviously it's very jaded because of where interest rates are. So you get this thing where if I buy, I'm paying $3,500 a month in mortgage. If I rent the house, I'm paying $2,500 a month. Right now it doesn't make a lot of sense right off the bat. But even in this market, within about 2.5 or 3 years, you're caught up with your outlays of what you spent on rent during that period of time and what you spent on your down payment, your mortgage through that period of time. And then from there on, obviously you're going to have maintenance costs on a home, but throughout time, I mean, people who go to retire, especially those who unfortunately are on a fixed budget, the people who own a home are able to do that. People who don't, oftentimes, or the people you see having to go back into the workforce at 70 years old, which is horrible because they can't afford rent anywhere because it just keeps going up and they're on a fixed income, So over time, again, inflation is going to get you. And even during that period of time, to say that your renting is always going to give you more money to invest each and every month is not always true. And it hasn't been true over the last 10 years for most of that time. Over the past 3 or 4 years, yeah, that is true. Initially, you're going to have a lot more free capital to invest if you rent as opposed to paying a mortgage if you're making a minimum down payment. But that catches up pretty quick because of inflation, which never stops. And over time, it makes a huge difference because it's always compounding. So you borrow $1 today, and in 10 years, you're paying back 78 cents on that dollar, because of inflation. So, I still say there's a lot of benefits there, even if it's not long-term or short-term. In most markets, not a $14 million home, obviously, but a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 home. In most markets, you can still move, even in a slow market, in 60 days. So you're out of that house in 60 days, cashed out, moved on. A lot of places you can still move in and out of there, get it sold in 30 days. So that's faster than breaking a lease.
Robert, I think that's a little ambitious on the time to sell a home. I don't see that happen often, but perhaps I'd like to hear from one of the real estate agents how illiquid this is. I don't, 30 days to me seems, I did one in 22 days and the bank said it was the fastest deal they've ever done in their lives. So,
well, you're gonna have time once you go into contract. I'm saying get into contract to find a buyer. That then you're looking at probably 30 days to close a transaction once you have an accepted offer.
Well, both of you guys bring up something really good. Evan even brought it up. If you have the mindset that you are unwilling to rent, and if you're unwilling to even consider renting, most certainly when you go to buy your next home, you will be a less able buyer than I will be. You will be willing to pay more than I will be because I've already considered the option that renting is an option. And if you do the math, I think if we actually, I wanted to bring a chalkboard here. I think if you do the math is so staggeringly bad against home ownership after 3 years. It's staggeringly bad. Not to mention every opportunity or business, and we'll come to you, Walden. Every business that I've ever gotten into that was really, really fun and exciting and I could make a lot of money, it required me to move somewhere and do something else. It required me a lot of flexibility, and having an anchor that I needed to take care of was not going to be productive. I had to actually move somewhere, and not having that thing to take care of was very, very useful for me. Henry.
Yeah, I'm trying. Can you hear me?
Barely.
My microphone. Okay. Just go ahead, and I'm going to try to work on my mic. Sorry.
You sound good to me. He sounds good to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're okay now.
Okay, great. Yeah. The problem that I have with the rent thing is, and sorry, I missed some of that. I was putting my headphones on, but the rent, when I did just a national average, and I'm not ignorant to the fact that certain properties are going to have the ability to produce what others can't. But on a national average, you're looking at what, 7% on multifamily, on single family, maybe 5-6%, and that's you have to minus inflation from that. So I don't know. I don't see the real benefit from it unless, like I said, I think Gary brought this up. You got to steal it, and steal it. What's that mean to me? Stealing it was if you can get an interest rate under inflation and have that locked in for 30 years, you're stealing the property. You're going to get the property just about for free, minus cost of maintenance and property tax. So that's reasonable. I can see the argument. But anything over inflation, you're paying 3 times. Like right now, you're paying 3 times the house value to own. So I don't see it. Again, there might be the option. I was thinking. I knew a guy that worked at a prison, and he needed to be like in that location. There's not rental property there, so that makes sense. Anyway.
Well. Look who showed up, Dustin. Everyone here, we've all purchased a home. We're all out of Bitcoin. Like, you missed it all.
All right, so the TLDR is get rid of all your Bitcoin,
Can you hear me? I might go on my computer.
put it all into a single family home. That's what we're walking away with.
Yeah, we all went in together.
Let me ask you guys a question, the house guys. What's the average price of a home in the United States today? 600 grand, 700 grand, something like that?
Yeah, about 430, right around there.
Okay. What would the price of real estate be today, home ownership, if you had to pay 100 cents on the dollar? In other words, you couldn't get 80 cents loaned on a $100,000 home. You're able to put 20 grand down, maybe 2 grand, and buy a home for 100 grand. What if that wasn't available and you had to buy it like you could buy Bitcoin? What would home prices be if credit scores 650 couldn't get 80 cents on the dollar loaned to them?
We
I
certainly
think
got
with all the
demand there.
institutional BlackRock and all that, I don't think they'd be much lower with all the institutional interest. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, but I just answer the question. If you had to pay 100% cash on cash for the house for the price of a home, what would it do to home prices if the average is 438?
I don't think it would affect it too much. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think it because of the if this was 08.
You got to come up with 400 grand. You can't come up with 8.
Well, you got why is BlackRock and all these institutions if these
because they have all the money.
Yeah, well, I don't
have
think
plenty of fucking money.
I don't think it's that leveraged of a market like it was in 07. I don't think it's that.
Yeah, about 27% of homes bought are bought by investors. Everything else is bought by people who are going to live in the home, owner occupied. They're all financing it. I mean, maybe 20% are bought cash purchase. So you took that as 57% of buyers who are either investors or cash buyers. Everyone else is looking at living it, and it's leveraged. So it would obviously pull down that demand there. But those people are still going to have to live in a place and rent a place, so that's going to increase investor interest. More investors are going to buy the home. It's going to be that $35 trillion of equity sitting out there is going to sit in a lot less hands. It's going to shrink the middle class. They're going to rent.
Robert, you agree that 35 trillion, when it dies and it moves to the 2.2 kids in that family, that will get sold, right?
Yeah, it does all the time.
Oh yeah, they're going to sell the house. They're going to cash out.
It'll get reduced overnight. By the way,
it's not like they're renting the house and they're going to turn the keys over. No, they're going to sell that house and they're going to take all the equity out of it and split it up, right?
Because they're going to sell it. They're going to sell it. By the way, that you'll have no market for the house because the 3 kids don't care what it's worth. They want their money as fast as possible. Like the average home today sitting on the market about 95 days right now. I can take you down the west coast of Florida right now. I can show you a couple of 100,000 homes on the west coast that nobody can get their price for. Now imagine if all those people died tomorrow, their kids are going to walk in and say, "Sell it. I don't care what you get because I want my third." And then you don't have a bottom. Also, the 80% of population America lives in 20 cities. You'll never have affordable housing in those cities. And those people want mobility that Gary's talking about. But the other thing is all the industries that depend on housing for us to believe that it's a dream, that it's some kind of investment, when in truth, I got to furnish it. I got to insure it. None of these things you have to do with a rental. I have to pay property taxes. I have to pay HOA fees that are uncontrollable and just like whack today. You're going to see HOA fees on condos across Florida become a major problem in America.
Yeah,
and then you have PMI insurance. You have PMI insurance on anything below 20% on a mortgage. And you have interest only being paid. I mean, there's no principal pay down for the first 7 or 8 years. And then your money's not working. The only good thing is the leverage, but you're over leveraged in most cases, not under leveraged.
Yeah, but if you buy in the right market, Grant, like Polk County, Florida, I'll make an argument for buying a house here because, I obviously live by rent where you live and everything, but there was a girl, she had me door knocking out in Polk County, old people, as old Christian people there, man. I was door knocking for solar, and there were some sweet deals. You could I really was like, so like, it was like, don't buy a house, but she wanted to move in. And she, these women want houses, man. And sometimes they fuel us so well that I think maybe it would be worth it,
So why is renting so much better? Is there such a disparity in net worth between homeowners and renters? People who rent their whole life, people who own a home.
Well, but I think your measure
of net worth between those two individuals.
Because those people are counting the equity in their home as net worth when they shouldn't be.
Yeah. So should we take that off?
Because it's not
sell their home. If you die and your kids sell your home,
it should have never been. It should have never been on the financial statement. It's not an investment. It should not be on the financial statement of your personal net worth. You're pretending something's going to happen that you don't know. You're not liquid. If you can't liquidate today and get your $3 million or 400 grand or whatever it is, you don't know what the number is going to be 90 days from now. Nobody does.
Right.
Yeah, and you're also stuck at the whim of government. Obviously, we have a push to lower interest rates now. People, do you know when Trump got in? I was in after talking to Gary and Grant last year. I had decided I'm not owning anymore. This is ridiculous. I spent a ton of money fighting with the county, the sheriff, everybody in that town, and I thought, what am I doing this for? I mean, in the end, I went to a real estate. He's the head broker for an agency. He has like 150 agents under him, and I just said, hey, I'd sell this. I think you can pay this price for it because I knew he was going to turn it for rent. And so I knew I needed to lower the price so that he could justify the rent. And so I said, I'll meet that price. And we shook hands and we did a deal. I took a $60,000 hit and I just left. I made so much more just leaving. I will never, I'm in a rental now. It's so much better. I can't tell people, if you are a young person and you're being pushed to buy a house, there might be scenarios where it works for you. But I'm telling you, as an older person, I've lost money in every property I've ever owned, every one. So good luck to you with that. But I'm a professional trader. I make a lot of money elsewhere.
But I think we need to bring back an owner's mentality. I think what's going on wrong with America is that it's the buy nothing, you'll be happy, right? So like a lot of things that I do think is when you own something, you protect it more. That's why Trump wants to take over Greenland. We own it. And, he's like, we'll protect it more, right? So like there is a point of that. And all the young kids don't want to buy. Like they don't. Like we've priced everybody out of markets. We need to make it in a moment, and maybe more with legislation we can do this where we can really make where we don't count equity net worth, right? See, let's have it go, Jeff. We don't count that as net worth, and we flip it, right? We make it more, and I don't want to say affordable housing. I'm always with just go work more money, but we meet up where the economy's at, right? So like I live out here in Midtown, which is all like, this is utopia, right? And a lot of the kids want to do this, where they all want to come out here. The younger ones, that they're not waiting to have kids right away. I'll admit, I fell victim to that, right? Of, I wanted to marry a pastor's daughter, get married, have kids, didn't work out. So it's like, okay, I'll go make some millions and come back, right? And then just buy a wife. But man, these Miami wives are expensive out here. So I don't think we're going to do that.
Well, one of the things that'll help with this, I figure there's a couple of things on the horizon that might help young people. We have, 228 million fully vaccinated people in the United States. Depending on how you calculate that,
they took the mark.
25% in 10 years. Another way to lower the price is, and you're not going to have happy older people, but is you just simply, like Gary said, just make it harder to get the loan. Eventually, they have to come down to meet the market, and the way you calculate the market is you figure out how many people actually have the money to buy it in that market. So you're not going to get $400,000 for a home if the average person has $50,000 cash. You're going to have to make a deal. And that's what I was saying about making a deal. Like when you need to make a deal or you want to, you're trying to make a deal with somebody. And so you got to know where they're coming from and what they're trying to get. Like I had that deal done with that real estate agent. It was done in minutes, like seriously minutes. We just shook on it. I trusted him. He's a wealthy man. And so I was done. And so, but my point is, when you're in those situations and you want out, it's a lot harder than you think getting out of a house. You're stuck with it. It's a big anchor around your.
No, I agree. My brother buys and sells houses. They make so much money in that all day. I watch him buying these distressed houses people just want to get rid of, and that.
Oh, I had a brand new house, brand new, 4 years old.
Yeah, listen. I mean, as long as you're happy, that's the biggest. I'm more like Gary V here. You know, are you happy? It doesn't matter about anything where you're at. By the way, Dana, because you're the only woman on this, and I know you haven't said a word. I don't know if they allow you to speak here, but because women always want the house, are you a woman who like kind of wants like a house, or are you okay with renting? Where are you at this?
I've never really wanted to have a really big house because it's just a lot of work. So I prefer kind of having a nice location. Like Gary has, you know, beautiful lookout into the water. Like I do value that. But if I'm in work mode, it's like, I know I should be in a place like that because it does bring the best out in you. But I honestly, I don't prioritize even that. Long story short, I wouldn't get a house, you know, like unless, I don't know, like I just changed my mind one day. It's like a tattoo.
Are you married or no? Are you married?
No, but like, I don't know if that would change anything because it's still locking you down to a location when you don't know how your life's going to turn out. It's like you plan and God laughs. Do I really want to be setting myself up for a hurricane? Like my mom's house got hit in Florida with the hurricane recently, and it's not the first time. So, could I just rent and like still have enjoyment with a nice location and not a really big house? Yeah, I think so. But I would prefer to travel if I wanted to do that or have legs. Yeah, but I do think it's a personal choice. Like there is this feeling of like, oh, would you like to have a house where you could grow your own food and like do kind of whatever you want and test the soil and grow, like I would be more apt to say, yeah, I'd like to have that.
Well, you hire workers for that, you know, you hire people to do gardening and all that stuff, you know, you just own the land, you know.
You don't, exactly, but you still don't have to own a house to do that. Like my dad had a farm. I did grow up kind of in that way too. And I was with my dad. It's like, I see the benefits, but I also I saw it was a lot of work and it was really not something I was looking forward to doing personally.
Yeah, same. I used to have to weed the garden. I mean, we all would love a house like Gary up there in Tampa, you know, on the water, right? But even then, I want to get up and move all the time. The only thing that you guys see me buy a house was in Polk County. The prices were unbelievable. It was on the buy. It was what you were saying. And the girl, we were spending the time in like this little split level. But the time when you're in love and you're with somebody and she's making you the coffee, man, it just, for me, like I was like, man, if I hear from Grant that I bought a house, he would understand, you know, but at the end of the day, like, I do think we do need owner's mentality that even like there's a place down the street from here called The Standard, right? You can buy it and own it. And I think this is a good business model where basically you can own a part of like the penthouse or the condo or whatever, but then you can use it at any location they have hotels. I think that's a great model to go forward. Like, G3 with 10X Living, you start owning a bunch, but you can actually travel, so you kind of own it in other properties, you know?
That's a good argument.
Yeah, I would own a house if you could rent it out while you were living there. Yeah, definitely. I would do that.
Like, so if we made that as an ownership for all of us here, I think we'd be more, because I want us to get back more to owner's mentality and everything, own car, everything. It makes more sense for me to lease a car than own a car right now, right? And the reason why I want that is because I do believe, I know the American dream is like the biggest, 9 to 5 matrix, but it's the tokenized real estate, somebody said. I love that. But it's the most like how I watched my mom and dad grow up, right? They were happy, like they were there. We were stuck in stupid Connecticut, man. Connecticut's a liberal, ugly state. Everybody's ugly there. I'm so glad to be down in Miami. Everybody's good looking in shape down here. But in Connecticut, I always wanted to leave. But I do remember having the happy house, the ownership. We own something. You're responsible of it. I do believe that would be good to put in this new economy that we're in, that it's tougher to own. And like, I'm willing to, if you guys don't know me, I want to run for office and do a whole bunch of Charlie Kirk type stuff. So I really want to make some, and we're a bunch of smart people here. So the world was made up by no smarter people than all of us, right? We get some stuff in here. You get it to me. We pass some legislation. And next thing you know, we're tokenizing real estate that you're only buying places where you can move. Me and Dana are getting a apartment house where we can rent out, and it's all good like that,
If that comes to fruition, then I don't know who. I mean, that could be the future, man. You probably make a lot of money with that type of model. I don't know if it would completely work. There's a lot of, that's a lot of stuff that needs to be allocated for. But yeah,
well,
it almost sounds like a timeshare, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, there's a problem with it. I RV'd for years. I sailed and RV'd, and I had a membership where you buy in, you pay like $25,000, and it gives you access rights. And because that's essentially what you're saying, right? Because you're getting access rights to the network, and that's wonderful until it's not. And here's how I learned that it wasn't. So I would like to spend the winters in Florida. When I would go down to Florida, everybody wants to spend the winters in Florida. And so you would have half the country that's completely open, nobody at those RV parks, everybody trying to get in and fighting with each other. And so I would think the same thing would happen. Really, you gotta let the market price the real estate. So like with Grant, he has some pristine properties. I went and looked at some of them. I live in a similar property to like what he has down in is that Boca Raton, I think. Anyway, but gyms, pools, everything you'd want. We have security. And I love that. It's so much better than my house. But if you didn't allow the market to price that, you would have everybody packed into there. You see? And so that's I see Gary nodding. What do you think, Gary?
Well, I think there's been a lot of good comments. One thing that I think is really interesting, that everyone assumes inflation will continue as it did in a prior century. And I actually think that you're naive in believing that technology is not going to solve a lot of these problems. And it's going to produce a lot of, look, I think the young guys, and the young guys will know better than me, but I don't think the young guys want to live in a place like this. They want to live in a condo or an apartment. Like, the condo market is going to get fucked up so bad, okay, because of the HOAs that go up forever and ever. I would like hunt for condo things. Some guy in New York that's got a $6 million condo here or $600,000, and go rent it from them. I knock on doors of people that have been trying to sell their house for a year and a half. See, I don't think people know how to go do this. But literally, when I know that I'm running out of time on a rental property, I start looking around. That's how I ended up here. I started looking around for homes that have been on the market for a long time. They're trying to be sold, and I go in and offer them a shitload of money to rent it. And then I take the rest of the money that I saved, and I actually make something out of that money. I have to plant that money now, fertilize it, seed it, keep fertilizing it, water it, and then it grows. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wow. Because Robert said, hey, most successful people own. Well, I have not owned most of my homes. And what it did for me, it wasn't that it was about the money. It gave me a tremendous amount of flexibility to do what I wanted to do when the opportunity showed up. And I was willing to move and bring my family with me. But no one's answered the question. When I buy Bitcoin, I have to pay 100 cents for every dollar that I buy Bitcoin with. When I buy a house, I get to put 20% down. In fact, in my situation, they loaned me $11 million to buy an $8.6 million house. Okay. So half of it was at 3.5%, and the rest of it was at a floating rate. My average is 5.5%, 6%. Like, why wouldn't I take all that money, right? And then invest it. Now, I invested it in a home, 2 homes. I sold the other house for a $200,000 or $300,000 discount after never making money on it for 3 years, bothering the shit out of me. sold it and bought $66,000 Bitcoin a year ago. Now, the cool thing about it is I don't worry about that. What was it? $1.5 million.
I remember that, Gary. I remember you said you're selling everything. You're going in. I remember when that happened. That was, I've been following for a bit.
Like right now, I
bought a little bit of Bitcoin then. I was like, oh, Gary knows something.
Yeah, but right now I'm challenged because I actually believe that because technology is going to build. Look, you got Elon talking about building houses that like they look like shoe boxes, and they're going to cost $600 a month to live in. I mean, I think that there's a lot of young people and really old people that would be cool with that.
Totally.
And in fact, they might have to be cool with it because no one answers this question. If you can't borrow 80 cents on the dollar for real estate, what's it worth?
Well,
you got to believe it's overinflated in value.
It's worth what people have. Like, you have to go to the market and calculate what the average person has in their bank account.
But Henry, that's my point, okay? Because my next question is, someone with $30,000 in their bank account probably should not be buying $400,000 homes. They shouldn't even be allowed to buy it, dude. You're literally turning them into a prison. Their own. They're imprisoning themselves, man.
Which is how we crashed the market in 2008. I mean, I'm a little too young for that.
But that's assuming you can.
Why do you have to be an accredited investor to invest? You can buy a house no matter what.
Gary, I'm curious, do you think your landlords are doing well with you renting from them? Are they cash flowing, you think? I know you mentioned finding like good deals on rent.
You know, that's not really my problem, right? I rented a property on Bel Air Beach. Dude, I mean, 10,000 square feet. I think it cost me $12,500. We lived there for 2.5 years. And he called me up one day. I bitched at him about something. He said, "Hey, look, I'm just going to kick you out of your lease. Okay, we're done." And I'm like, "No, I was just kidding, dude. I want you just to fix the problem." But I mentioned the mold word, and he said, "I'm out of here." He tried to sell the house for $9.6 million because I said, "Well, would you sell it to me?" He wanted $9.6 million. I was like, "That's ridiculous, dude. This is 2020. That house is probably now worth, 15, maybe 14. I don't know. Maybe it got flooded. Okay. Like, I don't know what his insurance did. He is literally on the beach. He's at 220 Gulf Boulevard, Dustin. Right down between Clearwater and further up north of Clearwater or south of Clearwater. And I mean, awesome property. I never had any problems with it. I never worried about it. I paid one check a month.
What property is this?
My children didn't know the difference, guys.
Yeah.
The parties I threw there, like I throw at this house, nobody knew the difference. Nobody cared. Nobody cares, right? But
and not true, Gary. When you're selling,
a course, the question though, okay, if you couldn't borrow, just put 2 or 3 or 10. It's over. Everything's overpriced. If you're buying something and your mortgage, let's say Jeff buys something, he's got a 90% mortgage, and I'm a cash buyer, and we're paying the same price, dude, something's wrong. Something is wrong, okay? And I just get back to, if you're not willing to rent, then you're going to be a horrible buyer because you've literally said, I have no other options, okay? And for you people in California that complain, hey, housing is not affordable, dude, you're the one making the decision to live in California, okay? Not me. I'm sorry. Maybe you need to go to your boss and get a raise. I wouldn't give you a raise if you lived in California. I'd be like, go live somewhere you can afford, dude. So you see, I just don't. I think there was an opportunity for people to be a little lazy and make mistakes and believe housing was a investment. But when you spend $100,000 to buy $1 million home, and then you can make $300,000 after you pay the mortgage off. The moment you make a triple on that, if it was an investment, you would sell it. You would not hold on to it. The wifey, Jeff, says, hey, this is a good investment. Okay, baby, it's triple. We turned 100 into 300 after the mortgage. My credit score is higher. We're selling the house down. They're going to be like, no, I got all my friends here. It's not really about the house. It's about their little security blanket.
Yep.
And it's a fucking expensive security blanket.
Dude, it is, man. I'll just buy a gun instead, you know?
Well, in your case, you might want to, check out the chicks you're dating first.
Yeah,
I would
totally.
probably do that.
We'll run them all by you. By the way, I want to say this, Gary, because you brought up a good point about Elon, which is with the mini houses, and also like the $2,600 that people are averagely paying, or whatever they're averagely paying for rent. I don't know. Do you think they should put that back towards if people want to buy a house? Because I do think an owner's mentality would be good, where we let people have to rent for a time, but then we count their rental income towards income, and then they can get into maybe it's a tiny house, they qualify. So that way it can almost be a stepping stone, kind of like when you're young, you kind of have the loaner car before you buy your own car,
I mean, if you want to talk about what feels like a prison, living in a shoebox feels like living in a prison. Living in a tiny home that you're not allowed to modify and make your own space. Like I get so much contentment and joy out of like doing remodels and making my space my own. Like that, the idea that in the coming world, right? Talking about Elon, who thinks everybody's going to get, high UBI, everybody high basic income for everybody just to like live in their stupid little shoebox and like eat their bugs and all of that. Like to me, the sad part is if I agree. For me, when I was young, my ability to chase opportunities was the only reason I was able to find success. The people who never left my hometown are still doing the exact same 9-to-5 nonsense that everybody else is doing. So when I was young, there was an opportunity cost to home ownership or being stuck to one geographical location that would have dramatically prevented my ability to like create the life I wanted to build for myself. At the same time, I'm wired differently than most people. A lot of those people in my hometown are very much content being a school teacher, being a nurse, right? Like living their life, having built a routine that they're comfortable with. And I mean, it's hard to argue also how much, right? We were having a discussion, I think a couple weeks ago, Gary, about how much of Americans' wealth is tied up in their home equity. It's a massive, massive number. For whatever reason, people are able to put money aside.
Robert, what did you say the number was? 35 trillion?
35 trillion
With a T.
single family residence equity.
And I think all of that gets sold in the next 20 years.
Yeah, the boomers have a lot of it.
Well, they want the 50-year mortgage now, right? Which only further ties you in, right? Like you thought 30-year, but we were talking about the 50-year mortgage, and part of the reason is that somebody's got to be exit liquidity, right? And so the way that you can generate exit liquidity, you have to put people in longer term loans that further like hold them down into whatever their space is. So to me, the worst of both worlds is number one, like people being tied for 50-year mortgages. It's insane. It's literally a way for us to artificially make sure that people don't have the equity that they've put in their home or that they think that they've put in their home, like just poof one day. The other side that I think is terrible is this idea of living like that people should live in shoeboxes and tiny homes. The whole tiny home movement is such a scam. Like, I too have RV'd. Like I spent a couple of years RVing around the country. Amazing, right? Like it was one of the coolest experiences to be able to just go park wherever I wanted to park. And I was also blessed because I could work wherever I had a computer, right? So like there's a lot that goes into it. But the idea of getting stuck in one of these shoeboxes, tiny homes, like it takes the soul out of the space that you spend, like where you sleep and where you spend your time. There's something spiritual about improving the space around you that I do think having some ownership stake when you get a little bit older is very helpful.
Yeah, Dustin, I agree. And Dustin, me and you are made differently. You definitely, the way you have your whole background set up, me and you would get along great because I'm more the visionary. I don't sit in a place at one time. I'm going, right? So like for me, a shoebox went cool. I'm never there. I'm literally at my apartment. I'm never here. I'm just here because I was like, oh, I want to jump in. I want to see Gary. I want to say stuff. I was actually getting ready to get out, and now I'm here because I have everybody. But you take more pride in your environment stuff. Me, I need a woman to come decorate. I need interior and I need someone who has that gift to come do that, right? My end goal is to actually I'm trying to buy out a shopping center now, an off-market shopping center, which everybody thinks is impossible. And I know it might be a better investment. I just love business. And I was doing this thing where I was going door knocking for Amazon through businesses in Hialeah trying to learn Spanish. And man, it was awesome because I saw how much, and this is what I mean, how much they had an ownership to their business. They owned a house, a car. I would go on, they'd invite me to their meal. I've done door-to-door window sales, and I used to sit in these houses where they decorated, and some they didn't take care of, right? So, but my point in saying that is like, there is that ownership mentality, and you're right. Elon Musk, UBI, if he's talking that's all dangerous. That's socialism, right? You got to be careful. But the ownership, we still need an ownership mentality, even if it isn't the perfect house, you know, like, and I know someone said I'm a timeshare salesman. I didn't even think of that. Right. Like, by the way, I almost bought a timeshare once. I'm so glad I didn't. I don't mean it like that, but I just.
But can I ask you, what do you own if you own a house? Just going back to the Bitcoin versus home ownership. Let's say I own the private key to my Bitcoin. That's what I truly possess. I don't need any legal framework for that possession to be enforced. If I own a house, what do I actually own?
Yeah, you make an excellent point there. My property in Boulder, I kid you not, the district attorney, he knows, my realtor knows me personally. He's friends with the district attorney. We got squatters in that apartment, or it's a cabin. It's a small cabin in the mountains. This is built. I visit those built. And
where do you live? Where do you live?
Me now?
Yeah.
Oh, I prefer not to say. I'm in a blue city. I don't want to be like attacked. I say no. I can't say no. I can't. But I did leave. I lived in Colorado and South Carolina. I'm not there now. But so yeah,
you're pretty talkative on X. I take it, huh?
I say what I think, and you'll see I get kicked off all the time. Like it's, but I can't not say what I think. It's just I can't do it. Yeah. But no, those people, I kid you not, man, they filed some fake paperwork, and this goes back to the Bitcoin. Do you own the property? Do you know once they cloud your title, you don't own the title? I mean, you technically own it because the district attorney knew that I owned the property, said so, but nobody was willing to uncloud the title unless I wanted to hire a lawyer. We had 5 lawyers come in. Each, and I interview all 5 lawyers. They give me a quote of like $10,000 each. It wasn't a ton, but here's the catch. It said even if you win, you may not uncloud the title, so you're better off just paying them, making a deal with them. I paid them $30,000 cash to sign away their rights to my property. Just keep that in mind. If you're young, I know you think, oh, this guy's a stupid idiot. I have an MBA. My wife got into great law school. Like we're maybe not geniuses, but you know, we're smarter than the lot, and we got really beat there. And there was nothing we could do. Even our connections couldn't even override it. So just keep that in mind. Do you own that?
Blockchain will fix that soon enough. I mean, all title will be on blockchain.
I'm probably the only one who brought the IQ down in here, but everybody's pretty smart and bright here, you know? So I'm just saying we got Dustin who has that. Evan comes up with the one word genius, says something. Robert is the guy who like unread any deal. You're the one who's thing. And then we got Gary who put everybody together and then Dana running it and Evan. So it's a great group. Guys, I only can sit still for so long, so I don't own a place. So thank you so much, Jennifer. I look forward to doing this. So many people are saying, hey, I want to follow you on Twitter and stuff. I'm not in here to get Twitter followers. I can't even figure out that Twitter game, man. So if anybody can hit me up, all right, you can get business there. But, man, Gary, great to see you, man. Great doing this.
You are here to get a girlfriend, though.
Oh, dude, I need a wife, man. All these girls, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, man.
You don't need anything, Jeff. You don't need anything other than a relationship with yourself.
Dude, Miami is probably the worst place in the world to find a wife.
Who said that? Is that Robert?
I said that. 100% spot on. Jeff, just find an excuse to have to go to Home Depot 20 times in a week. Like,
yeah, I'm 40 now, so literally, I'm so glad I found Gary because I connect so much with you, Gary, man, on the heart and everything too. But I tried to live out Grant's like back before I found kind of myself. I tried, so it's like, oh, he's married, yet older. I'm gonna get married. I'll just follow the Grant Cardone plan, right? And at the end of the day, I actually one of the girls, she actually used to work for Grant. She caught me pretty good, man, and you know, I'm a big lover, you know, so you got to be careful, you know. But yeah, just pray for me, guys. So I'll be all right, you know.
You guys pray for me before you pray for him, though.
Oh, dude, totally, Gary. Dude, Gary, I've been watching you, man. How consistent you are showing up, man. You inspire me, man. I actually own a VA company in the Philippines, and I spent a lot of time doing that. So I'm looking to get more active out here and active. After they killed Charlie Kirk, I started a media company. I'm going to be doing stuff. I'll probably run for office or something if it's the Lord's will. But I just appreciate all you guys. This is great plan, great. And my mind goes spinning. Once I get off here, I'm going to think of what Dustin said, what Evan said, how we can solve this ownership crisis in here, and then maybe put together a bill and pass it, you know?
Thanks for being here, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming, guys. I've just been checking into my flight. So speaking of not having a house, I hope you guys come on again. We do Cardone debates every Tuesday. I'm going to go catch my flight. Grant's already left on his, apparently. And make sure you follow all these guys up here. They're all really smart and entertaining. And we will see you next week.
Dana,
do you guys have any closing thoughts?
Go ahead. Let's go around the horn. Evan, real quick.
Yeah, I mean, assuming what you were saying, Gary, you're making me think, assuming that child birth rates keep going down in the U.S. and then once the boomers pass away, selling, but there could be a lot more immigration. You don't know who's going to be president next.
They can't afford it, bro.
Well, the UK, when they kind of
hey, check this out, okay? The immigration, if we really have 20 million people here, how many homes were they taking up?
A lot.
If those people leave, there's 4 million homes. Assume 5 people live in those homes, maybe 10. Okay, 4 to 10.
Yeah.
By the way, those homes are going to get trashed. In neighborhoods that you can't control. Imagine, Robert, where do you live? What part of the world?
California.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that'd be a good one. Minneapolis, Malibu, Michigan. Imagine you living there. Okay, and all of a sudden you have 5,000 people protesting in your front yard. Dude, you didn't expect that, did you? And by the way, every section of this country will go through a boom and bust cycle. Every one of them. Every one of them. New York's going to go down in flames, okay, until it's priced correctly for people to change their behavior, which is to open up innovation, destroy regulations, and they'll come in and the economy will get back. But no real money is going to go in places that aren't being treated well.
Miami, though, that's better.
Well, Miami, I wouldn't live there if you paid me, dude. The average chef now, the average housekeeper makes 150 large.
Wow.
Ken Griffin alone has distorted that market so significantly. Okay, who bought a $175 million property so he could put his fucking boat there? Okay, like you see that? He built a museum, got approval from the Florida state to build a museum that he's going to get tax benefits for so he can park his 186-foot penis next to his house. I mean, seriously, okay? That destroys a market. Well, you're living in New Orleans. Take the reverse, right? You live in New Orleans, and it can never get out of its own way after a major disaster. Where Dustin lives, there's 5,000 empty apartment and condos right now from a storm that happened a year ago. Okay, every restaurant down there except 3 or 4 have closed, and no one's talking about it. That's
making me want to sell my high rise in Brickell, bro.
What's that?
You're making me want to sell my high rise in Brickell.
We also,
dude, you compare Brickell and Tampa, where we are. Like we are going to benefit so massively here because you guys are going to get pushed out of that market.
Is it Treasure Island?
so
St. Pete, Tampa, that whole St. Pete, Tampa area, the whole corridor. It's got massive freeways. We have 8 lanes here, man, like we're in Houston. You don't have 8 lanes in Florida, dude. In Miami, you have. It takes me 28 minutes to get to Opelika, and then 80 minutes to get to fucking South Beach from Opelika.
Well, why are you going Opal?
Hey, while I watch,
what are you doing in Opalaka?
the city of 1,000 Ferraris that cannot get out of first gear.
Yeah, that's true. It is annoying, man. That's why I rented out my high rise. Now I don't live in Brickell anymore. But
Evan, I'm on my way to Brickell. I'll check it out for you. Make sure you don't have any leaks or plumbing problems. I'll go take a look. I'll send you an invoice.
I'm gonna end with this one thing. No one answered the question. If you couldn't borrow 80 cents on the dollar, what would a home be worth? I'm telling you, this was in the 50s. The banks came up with this product to enslave people. Okay, like it's a bad product, man. It has not helped the divorce rate. Homeownership's gone up, and now it's starting to go down, but it hasn't like solved a lot of problems. And I think it traps a lot of people and families in a world that's very different than it was in 1970. Look what we're doing right now. Okay. I mean, Dustin's in a project right now that if he needed to move to Canada for 6 months, he probably should do that. Right? Or 6 years or 2 years. I mean, just follow the adventure, man. Once you anchor yourself down into a fixed location, I don't know why anybody wants to do that. Plus, like, you have to take care of it. I don't know anything about roofs. I don't fucking want to know.
Right, but that was the point I was going to make, because I do think this is actually important, which is because I love when
you buy the house, you can take care of it, and I'll rent it from you.
Right, I can buy it in shambles, and I know how to do the drywall and patch the walls and remodel the kitchen and do the plumbing, and the only thing I don't screw with is electric. We need men who know how to fix shit. Right, like one of the things that scares me about
but we don't have any men that fix shit, dude.
Is that like none of these dudes know how, like, they can't change a tire. If there's a hole in the drywall, they don't know how to patch it. God forbid they have to try to hang a door. I forgot how terrible rehanging doors is, by the way. Like, don't try that. Like, hire somebody. Like, I'm not doing it for you, but like, I do think that there is a lot, like, men need to know how to fix stuff. So, like, at some point, teach yourself the basics of, like, how to take care of the space around you. Never a bad investment.
Well, Dustin, I guess I'm going to just go pick up a hammer and start using it and get my hammer skills so I can make, I can be successful one day.
I'll come over.
Nails.
Like, you want terrible?
How about if I go on my date, I leave the door open and I give you a list of things for you to fix before I get home?
I can't tell you how accomplished I feel. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I put new doors in. That's the last piece of the remodel I've been doing. I'll admit it took me a week because I do all the other executive work I'm doing. Like, I'm busy with big projects and stuff. You know how accomplished I felt after 10 trips to Home Depot to get all these doors hung and like square and like moving properly? Like, the champ is here, baby. Like, I think people should, like, men especially, I think they need that. Like, I think it's very, very, like, it's bad. Like, if you don't have a reciprocating saw, like, bro, keep building saw until you need a reciprocating saw. I'm just saying.
There's truth in that. I mean, it makes you think, man. I've done some stuff. I installed a reverse osmosis filter. I replaced a shower cartridge. I've done some stuff.
Now, you guys are so sexy. Dana, can you wait to go out with one of these guys?
Yeah, we're all going to go out together. Look, I don't know how to do any of this stuff.
I mean, do you want a man that knows about his plumbing? Or do you care?
He's got to know how to lay pipe.
There are women who really like that. I don't know if it matters so much to me. Like, if they hire somebody and it gets done, what do I care, But some of the basics, maybe it's good to know, but
I think the blonde's got it figured out, okay? I think you guys are confused.
Yeah, the blondes always have it figured out. This whole dumb blonde thing is a psyop.
Make sure you don't miss your flight. Guys, appreciate everybody being here. Leon, Robert Flutie, Evan Aldo, Walden Capital, Henry Thoreau, and Dustin Stockton. and the one, the only, and the most beautiful Dana Howe. Dana, have a great flight. Okay. See you guys.
You guys are the
Thanks so
best.
much, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate
See you next
all
week.
you
All
guys.
you guys.